All right, everybody. Coach Lee here, wanting to break down one of my very favorite workouts of all time called the Hour of Power. Now, I, as a cycling coach, living and as an athlete who has been coached for many years, who has run every plan that you can imagine on every platform that you can imagine, I inherit a great deal of workouts, of plans, okay? And so one of my favorite things to do is I actually have a love of history. I love to figure out where these workouts came from, right? So, for instance, the 2x20. Where did that come from? Who is the first person to ride the 2x20? We have no idea. Tabatas? Well, we know that one, right? The 40-20s at VO2 effort, we know who created that, right? So I love to track down, and last month I had the great fortune of just finally figuring out one of my favorite workouts, kind of bringing a history to it, called the Hour of Power. It was developed by a gentleman in Maine, an ex-professional cyclist, a master cyclist who has rocked it out on the national stage, and it was created in the early 2000s, again, called the Hour of Power. So what is the Hour of Power? Who invented it? Let's jump in and talk about that. But first, before we get to that, let's talk about a few words from our sponsors. Right, Bedrock Gravel Race. I got two big things coming up. Actually, three big things coming up for the 2023 season and the beginning of 2024. We have Bedrock Gravel Race, which is July 2023. That's here in the mountains of Virginia. And it's amazing, right? So it's about, we have two routes, a 28-mile route and a 56-mile route, and it is a straight-up race for all the glory, okay? It's going to be timed. It's a straight-up race. There's going to be one stop right in the middle. And it's going to be, I've ridden these roads. A lot of people come here from all over the United States to ride these gravel roads. It has two monster climbs in it at the end, but it has just beautiful views, beautiful gravel roads. There's a camel on the route, right? If you find it, it'd be awesome. So it's just an amazing ride. Bedrock Gravel Race, you can Google it, or you can go to the Great Bedford Valley Roadride.com to get that. Then also Columbia Cycling Camp, somewhere at the end of January 24. I'm going with Coach Jill Patterson. Jill Patterson, rocking out races all over America. Current national champion for the Grand Fondo, the United States Cycling Grand Fondo. She is, working mostly out of Washington, D.C. She is an amazing coach. But she goes every year to Columbia to race. And so she's raced in Columbia many times. She goes to vacation, to train. Last year was her first cycling camp that she did in Columbia. And so, I have worked with Jill before leading camps here in the mountains of Virginia. And now it's time to take our show on our road. Jill Patterson's amazing cyclist, an amazing racer, an amazing coach, and just an amazing human being. And she's going to add a lot to this camp. All right. So let's jump in and talk about the Hour of Power. And so basically here is the workout itself. It's a nice warm up. And then this is all a tempo effort, and crucial to the Hour of Power is the duration, the level of intensity, and then these bursts. And then here's a nice, energy systems impact of how it works. So here's the warm up. Here's the mixed aerobic and anaerobic, and then here are the anaerobic burst. All right, so crucial to this is 115 to 120% for the burst, 85 to 90% for this section right here. Now again, this workout comes to us from this athlete who created it by the name of Bill Black in the early 2000s. Andy Coggin's book on training and racing with the power. If you get that in the first edition, the second edition, and in the third edition, it's mentioned, he is mentioned actually by name as the creator of the workout. In 2007, there's a United States Cycling has a newsletter, and in 2007, Bill Black himself writes it in details and breaks this workout down. So there's tons of history behind this particular workout, and it's a pretty common workout. So what do we do? All right, so it's this is basically an hour at tempo, 85 to 95%, with these bursts. Now these bursts, they offer something pretty cool, right? So you do these bursts, you go over threshold, and they offer a lot in terms of building your neuromuscular foundation, if you will, because when you want to do these bursts, you want to gear down and you really want to grind a little bit for the bursts, okay? Now, these things, they work on several things. This is a tempo workout, so it develops your aerobic engine, ultimately leading to a more efficient aerobic capacity, your lactate tolerance. Because we're doing these bursts over threshold, right? They burn, right? And so the first one, because it's a 30-second duration for the burst, it burns and you'll feel the burn. And then 5 minutes later, you'll feel the burn again, but maybe a little bit less. And by the time you get to the end, you probably are not feeling any burn whatsoever, but you're able to nail and do that neuromuscular burst. So it really helps with your lactate. And so what's great about this is that, in the base season, different plans call for different things. My plans, the athletes that I work with, we have tons of these bursts, tons of these surges in the workouts all throughout the base period. So we're developing that lactate tolerance. We're developing your ability to shuttle the lactate from the fast twitch muscle fibers to the rest of the body, primarily, the muscles, the slow twitch fibers, things like that. So it's a great workout for that. Muscular endurance, right? We're doing those bursts at gearing down, really developing those muscles, really developing your muscles to contract at a certain speed, at a certain level. Repeatability. One of the things that I love about this is that it does have that repeatability and that you just keep doing those efforts over and over and over again. These are perfect for just about any type of racing. If you're a mountain bike racing and you have all these short, punchy climbs, you're a gravel racer, you have all these short, punchy climbs, you're a crit racer, and you have all these surges throughout your race. I mean, this is just a great way to train. Obviously you can see my enthusiasm for it. I'm fired up for this workout. And then fatigue resistance. I love that aspect of this workout as well, because, there are 3 ways that we can really build our FTP, right? We can push it up from below. We can pull it up from above, but we can also extend it out. And this extension is often forgotten in a lot of workouts, a lot of coaching, a lot of training plans. That ability to go at your FTP for a long period of time, right? So a great example of this is that, I brought lots of people to train over here in Bedford, Virginia, and we have a great 1-hour climb, right? Uninterrupted, 6% the entire way, just smooth climb. And, you look at people's FTP, okay, here's your FTP 300, but then you get them out on this climb for an hour, like, okay, do your FTP for 1 hour. They can't do it. They can only do it for, 25, 30, 35 minutes. And so one of the reasons I love these workouts is because it teaches the body to work harder in time, basically pulling that FTP out, extending your ability to do duration at time for increased durations. So there's actually a metric that we follow called time to exhaustion, but every zone kind of has its own time to exhaustion, right? So if you take someone off the couch and you say, you define their zones and you say, okay, go do zone 2 for 6 hours, probably can't do it. The theory says that you should be able to do it, but they'll have a time to exhaustion when they simply cannot do zone 2. It's the same thing for zone 3, zone 4, okay? So me personally as an athlete, the tempo racing is my favorite type of racing. Big ring, tempo, big rollers, and I'm done at 3 hours for my tempo, right? So my FTP set at about 305, and so my tempo is going to be about 260 for a 3-hour effort, 260, 265, kind of pushing 270. But at the end of that 3 hours, I'm done. But it takes me a while to get to that 3 hours, right? So I'm working with this duration all throughout the base and build periods and continually, making my ability and athletes that I work with their ability to do these durations, their event-based durations, for longer and longer periods of time, which is one of the main reasons I absolutely love this particular workout. All right, let's get in. Another reason that I love this workout is progression. Nailing, this progression. It's, the person out there, the influencer out there that's, probably talking about this the most is Tim Cusick. He's not responsible for anything in this video, or mistakes, whatever. And his level of thinking on progression, and as you progress through a periodized yearly plan, as you progress each month, as you progress in the week itself, his level of thinking on this is unparalleled, and he's talked about it a great deal. Progression is just one of those key training principles that I adhere to, that, basically, if you wanted to do a 300-mile race, you just don't start training at 300 miles, that you layer that time up, you layer your duration up, you layer your volume, you layer your intensity up over time, and you just layer those physiological systems one on top of another. You develop them, you develop them, and you develop them. You progress each week throughout a month, then you rest, and then you progress up once again the next month, and then you rest, right? So, just giving volume as an example. So like the first week you do 100 miles, the second week you do 120 miles, the third week you do 140 miles, then you rest at, say, 75 miles. Then the next month you start at 120 miles, and then you go to 130 miles, and then 140 miles, and then so on and so on and so on. One of the great things about this particular workout is that it is a brilliant workout to progress through time. And so here's a great example. This is, we have 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 minutes for this. This would be an early base period workout. And, making sure that you're nailing the work itself. You could be on the trainer for these. You can be in, several different places. It's just important to get the intensity and the duration right, and to teach your body to do it. But then look, right, automatically, boom, you're adding time at duration, okay, right? Then boom, you're just continually doing it. And then, over a period of time, over a period of couple of months, you eventually work up to this hour, right? So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, right? So 55, 60 minutes, the total hour of power is right here. But then what's great about this workout is that you can start adding things to it, right? You can do an hour of power, like a long Saturday ride. Like this is a 2-hour workout. You can go out and do increase that midweek ride into, you got an hour of power, finish it off zone 2. And then, right, you can do a big weekend ride. This would be the Saturday ride. This is a 3-hour monster, right, where you got this hard hour of power. And then you finish off with a couple hours of endurance. And then my favorite is this one right here. So this is how I like to race. So when I do like a century race and it's all glory, over 100 miles, this is actually how I like to do it. I like to do a massive zone 2 effort for, 3.5 hours. And then that last hour, just drill a monster tempo effort. And so end strong. And it just, these workouts, they teach your ability, your body's ability to process that energy through time, increase your body's ability to produce that energy through time. And then once you see a workout like this, you got a couple hours of endurance, and then you rock out a tempo effort at the end. It's awesome. And I never forget, one of my best coaching stories, or I don't know, just me and the athlete know this story, so it's not really a story, but one of my best memories from last year is I had a new client and he's rocking it out. He continues to build his FTP. He continues to build the other key metrics that I look at. And, we got him up last season and, he's a new to cycling, even though he has an FTP, it's, 320, 330. He has not done a lot of centuries. He's not spent a lot of days, a lot of time on the bike for that entire day. And so, we had him do a couple of centuries and he was rocking it out. And so then I said, all right, Joe, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go 5 hours, a zone 2, pace that zone 2 beautifully, just enjoy it, rock out, do that endurance work. And then at the end, I want you to nail a 1 hour tempo effort. And he sent me back an email with some question marks and boom, we nailed it, right? And so he nailed it. And so when I got done, it was such a huge confidence builder to him that he could do his hardest work at the end of a century. And right, this is very important for me as a coach because what is one of the most common reasons that a new athlete comes to me or any athlete? They always say, I die at the end. I got to my goal event. I got to my A event. I showed up, started out strong, but then I died. So these workouts are just so fun at developing that ability, that body's ability to finish strong, right? And they're huge confidence builders when you do them out there, right? So that's just a great progression. These are examples, and then you might do these every other week, and then throw in tempo in the weeks in between. But great progression. So let's just jump in and take a look at. I did one of these the other day. Here's the Energy Systems Impact report. So this is all aerobic work right here. This is mixed. This is a mixture of aerobic work. This is the interval itself. So I went out and did an hour of power with a 2 hours of endurance afterwards. So this was a 3 hour workout. And so then this is my aerobic work. One of the things that I like to do to better pinpoint the work is I like to look at this, add this line here. This is the dynamic functional reserve capacity line. And it shows me that I was digging in those 5-minute efforts, right? So I'm just not out there playing around. I can just really quickly visually see where these efforts were. And they weren't perfect at all. I was on these giant rollers. And so I did the best I could in a real world race scenario. Now, what did I do? One of the things that, there's a lot of strategy that you can put with these. So if you're an early base period, you might just sit on the trainer and do these, okay? But as you get closer to your event, you got to get more race specific with these. So how, I'm in the mountains of Virginia, but I'm able to train outside. So when I first do these, at the beginning of base period, I'll just go up the side of a mountain. I got a great 6% climb. I got another 8% climb at 35 minutes. And so I can just sit and cruise. It's really easy, small ring. I'm watching the birds, having fun. And it's just, because I'm just so used to that slow cadence, just grinding it out. These are actually kind of easy for me in that scenario. But then as I get closer to race, I definitely like to throw a couple of trainer rides on this because an hour of power, one of these workouts on the trainer, it's different than, quite simply, it's very different than doing it up on the side of a mountain. And then I like to do, as I did for this one, I did it out on, the closest roads that I could find for the type of roads that I race on. And it was just big rollers up and down. And, some people, when they do these, they might try to time their 30-second efforts on the bursts. I didn't, right? So what I wanted to do for this particular workout was, start my effort sort of at the top of the roller, right? So I gear down, I start cranking it out, and then over the top of the roller, got to gear down again, and keep that wattage going. And then down the other side, I got to crank, just kind of cranking those gears down and grinding it out, because that's a real world race scenario where you got to manage your rollers. You've got to get over those rollers, and you got to know how to gear down on the top of the roller and keep your watts, and you got to learn how to gear down and just keep going. And so, the other day when I did this particular workout, there were some instances where I'm 65 RPM going up, then I hit the top of the roller, I'm at 95, 100, and then going down to keep my watts. I'm at 120, 130 cadence, completely almost spun out. And I ride with a 52 on the front and an 11 in the back. And I'm a great case scenario where I need different gearing. I need to go to a 53 on the front if I stay in Shimano, or if I'm in SRAM, I really need that 10 on the back. All right, so that's it. Route selection is key. Different times of the year, nail that route selection. Eat, drink, right? So this is a hugely important thing. The tempo efforts are amazingly deceiving. You might start out and you're like, wow, I can't do this. I can't do this. This is kind of hard, but your body settles in and you find yourself able to crush these efforts. But crucial to that whole process is your ability to eat and drink. They use a ton of carbs. And so for this 3-hour ride, I had 2 bananas. Because it's at intensity, I just do real simple math. If it was a 3-hour endurance ride, I take 6 items, whether it's like 3 gels or 3 something like this, like 3 something that has 25 grams of carbs in it. Okay, so I want from food or gels, something like that, I want to get 50 grams of carbs from that, and then I have a water bottle of this. But this is tempo, so I'm doing something. I'm kind of adding a little more. I'm adding an extra gel, so I'm doing, if we just want to think about gels, 3 gels an hour. And plus, all the stuff that's in here. So literally, I got all this food just for to nail this thing, right? And so eating and drinking is crucial. I mean, when you're doing these tempo efforts, you're just putting basically about as much in you as you can. Now, pace, base versus build. When you, in your base period, I just say, hey guys, just nail these, mid-zone, don't crush it, just get your body used to producing the energy. We're not trying to create too much fatigue that we can't adapt to. So basically, in the base period, 4 or 5 months, 2, 5 months, whatever. Basically, that's it. I'm just saying, hey, play the mid zone, right? So if your tempo is between 270 and 310, just settle into 280, just settle into 290, enjoy the experience. It will be tough, okay? Breathing is crucial for this. On these types of efforts, I really recommend in your nose, out your mouth, and that's a great way to breathe for these particular efforts. And then the endurance section, try to do in and out your nose only. But as we get towards your build phase is, it's about adding more watts. It's about chasing watts. It's about building on your amazing foundation that you've just built over 4 months, so your body can recover more quickly from the fatigue. Your body can adapt quicker with the more intensity. And so for this particular one that I did over, I left my mid-range, and then this was my first big tempo hour of power effort in my build phase. And so I went to the very top of my tempo zone for that particular workout. And then get pumped up, man. For me, the tempo effort, it's my favorite way to race. It's my favorite zone. It's the thing that I like to do the most. I love to just get, on these rollers in Virginia, in the Piedmont of Virginia, just get in my big ring and cruise for 3 hours at tempo. And that is my favorite way to race. And so I love it. I'm highly motivated to do it, but I still need music. And so for me, whenever I do tempo, I'm not sure why, I always go to Metallica. Like, to me, Metallica is the perfect tempo music. And so on this, started, Enter the Sandman, and then just rocked out an hour of Metallica and just jammed and felt great at the end of this workout. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little presentation. My contact information is below. I am a coach. Send me an email, give me a call, whatever you want to do. But yeah, my contact information is below. Please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I love this workout hour power as it comes through in my passion. And whenever I find like the history of a workout, I definitely try to document it for the athletes that I work with. Just that educational process is highly interesting to me. It gives you a little more motivation. But as I, find something pretty cool about, a workout that I love, the Hour Power, and then it all goes back to Bill Black. So thanks, Bill Black. Once I find all that information, I will try to make videos and things like that. So take care, everybody. Rock it out.